The Art of Yes. Interview with Per Gottfredsson. Let's do it. Welcome, Per. My next guest is Per Gottfredsson from Sweden, from Stockholm.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's really nice to have you in Warsaw. Have you been to Warsaw before?
No, but I'm every day waiting for an invitation to come, and you once said that you would invite me, so I'm hoping
true.
this Corona thing will go away, and I can. I mean, it's a legendary town, but I have never been there.
Now we meet. Now we meet online, but I hope you will come in person to see Warsaw and to do some improv here. Good to see you, Per. How are you in these difficult times? It's probably not easy for the theater you run, right?
No, I mean we struggle economically. We have supporters that I mean our students and so on. They want us to continue, so we have a campaign going, and so we are in one way overwhelmed by all the love and all the support we get from our community, but it's a struggle. I would lie if I would say something else. So
yeah. So yeah, we will maybe talk about this or online stuff later. I hope the life will get better. But tell me, what's the thing you said you're doing the like promoting the theater? How you get the money? Or because I've seen some T-shirts and some stuff. So how?
Yeah, we have a campaign that actually is called Save Stockholm's Improvisation Theatre.
Oh.
And I have actually the T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
We made this logotype.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, people can. There's different things. They can buy a T-shirt. They can buy a little thing that we would put on the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that gives money will have their name in the foyer.
Nice.
And they can buy classes ahead and tickets ahead, and they can just send money to the rent. So there are many different ways, and we also have done some streamed shows, and we do movies from time to time, just singing, or we actually did a 9 minutes improvised movie just to give them back something when they have supported us.
So is the theater open or half open? How do you deal with the situation now?
It's open, and we have classes going on, like 60% of what we normally have. We have gone down in how many students in each class, and we have one room that we are not using because we think it's too small, and so we try to adapt to the situation here in Sweden, where we actually didn't have any total lockdown, but all the theaters have been closed. So until now in August, I think it was, like, now we can have 50 people in the audience, but we have 24 just because of extra safetyness.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's different. Life is different.
It is. It is. And also this year there was no festival, which I will talk to you later about, but you couldn't make it, right?
No festival, and I guess everybody understood that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had some idea of doing something on the internet, and maybe there will be later on. I still don't know. It's basically focus on one thing at a time right now, and that's how it works, because we are fewer people working, but still in some way the same work. So it's like now we do that and now we do that. And
yeah, big challenge.
Big challenge, yes.
Okay, so maybe let's talk about better times before Corona and after.
Wow,
So,
I'd love to.
so I know that you had a recently talk with Randy Dixon, who is your big friend.
Yes.
So probably we will touch some of the stuff will be the same, but I will try to talk to you about things maybe from different angles, or maybe some different stuff we will find. So tell me briefly, how did you start improvising? Because as far as I know, you have also acting background. So one of my questions usually is, what was first, improv or acting, or both in the same time, or opposite way around?
It was actually acting that started when I was like, I don't know, 19 or something. Actually I acted in school, and one day when I was actually in the doing the army thing, 1 year in Sweden, and I was home. So I was in this macho environment like every week, but the phone rang, and it was a friend of my mother who had seen me in a school play once when I was like 10 years old, and now she was in an amateur theater group. So she is the one that actually made me start doing theater. So she asked me if I wanted to be in this play they had, because she had seen me like 10 years before, and I said yes.
That's a great story.
That's how it started. So it's faith.
So did you finish later like acting school?
I went to I started with amateur theater, and for 5 years I did a lot. We did a lot of plays and musicals and things, and then I moved to Stockholm for other reasons, but then I started there and taking night classes, and then I went to a 1 year school where you actually live the whole year, so it becomes like
a dormitory, like a dormitory, or school with dormitory, or
I don't know, dormitory, but
it's like a place where students live.
Yeah, exactly. So and you rehearse and you work all days, and then you rehearse and work all evenings and all holidays and everything. So it's a very it was very suitable for me, because I started quite late, and it was like another way. And we also got a lot of practice in doing it all by ourselves, like the production and everything. So I guess that's one reason why I'm running a theater, because it's like you don't wait for someone else to call, you do it yourself. That's the thing. And he at that school, the head teacher worked on improv a lot. So that was new for me then, and that was 88. So yeah.
Okay, so did you start this improvising thing with like simple exercises, games used for acting?
Yeah, it was actually totally Keith Johnston. So it was spontaneity and accepting the idea, and I mean all the basic stuff, and all the games and things. Yeah. And then we use that in when we rehearsed plays as well. So I'm like very trained from the beginning to improvise around the characters and situation, and like the first time the couple meets, and to create the backstory and things like that. So.
Mm-hmm. So what did you find in this beginning, or maybe nothing, I don't know, but maybe you found something what was difficult in improvisation at the beginning?
What was difficult? I Let's start with, well, I totally in some way I connected with my way of acting, I think, to be I'm not so good in English in this, but to be like in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
react organically. And I think I have had that type of acting the whole time, and it was, for me, it was very simple to do that in improv as well, and I really loved that, to be in the unknown, and solve the situation in that sense. I think the hard thing was to work with others.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because we came from such, for example, in that school, we had so different lives before. So, yeah, I think that's the hard thing, to find the tool that helps you to work with others. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So do you remember any event, note that somebody gave you in that times, which like really helped you to improvise and to be better improviser?
Yeah, I know that my teacher then, he always encouraged me to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I guess where I were at that time, I'm brought up on a farm, so I was actually a farmer when I moved to Stockholm, and I was so and then going to Stockholm for 2 years and trying to become someone else. And so for me, it was a very that period was like searching for my identity and everything. So, and he encouraged me, you are best when you are yourself, he said.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I knew what he meant, but I say that to students now, so I guess there's something there.
What was his name of this?
Morgan Andersson.
Mm-hmm. Really Swedish, really sounds
Yes.
Swedish.
Yes.
Okay, so you finished this school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened next? Because now you are running the theater, which is a huge institution. You employ actors, you have classes, you have few spaces where you rent them for theater. So what happened between these two events?
I ended up in Stockholm at another theater, and we actually I met one of my that I owned the theater together with, Janne. You know who it is. He was also in this class, so we were in the same class. So he also went back to Stockholm, and we started working together, of course, right away. And we created an improv group that we run a little bit. We had training and we did some shows. We also did other shows. And I started working on a very big and good at the time amateur theater that gave young people in Stockholm the possibility to do things. So I started also playing there and directing some plays, and until I took my first class, 92 at the theater. So I took a summer class, and then like 1 year later, I became one of the improvisers at the theater, 93.
So looks like from the beginning you made your living on theater or doing theater.
Yeah, since 93, I have been almost 100% have my salary from the theater. In the beginning, in those days, you could get some money from the state. I don't remember how it was, but you could be at the theater in a project and still got some support. So it was, for a couple of years, it was like that. But
so yeah, it's very interesting to me because I know you for a while, but this all is new.
Yes.
To me, and I hope for people who will listen to us later. So how that happened that you opened your own theater? So it was just from because you started to do this big theater with Janne, and then how did you come up with because your theater is pretty old already, right? It's
yeah, and it wasn't me or Janne who created it. It was another guy who, I think, went to Loose Moose Theater in 86, 7 or something, and then came back to Sweden and wanted to create the same thing here. So he created the theater 89, and then he got the space in 92. So when I started, he was the artistic director. And for 1 year or something, and then he left. So
you took it over.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long story of I mean, we have in Sweden we have something called consensus. It's a bad thing sometimes, it's a good thing sometimes, but we struggled when the creator of the theater left, because who should be the artistic director? So we have actually worked a lot of years without one person deciding, and in some ways we are a little bit functioning like that also now. It's very much based on agreement and what we want to do, and we have been meetings where we set up the basic ideas of what kind of theater we want to be, and then it's quite free in that surroundings, so to say.
Coming back to learning, because we learn all the time, I guess, as improviser, there's always something which we can learn. But you do improv pretty long time. So what's still challenging you now? Is there something which is
there's some, I mean, in some ways, then I know what I like. I know what kind of shows I want to do. Most of the times. But I mean, there are always things that challenge me. I mean, every time you walk on stage as an improv player, there is a challenge to understand the situation you are playing and the person you are working together with, and I mean, I love it when I can be on when the surface is not so clear and safe, and when there's things happening without saying them in lines. I mean, like in real life, that's actually what's going on. Every time you meet a person, there's a lot of thinking going on, or things like that. And I think that's my challenge, to find circumstances where I can be safe and I can rely on all my tools that I have worked on.
Your normal language to play is Swedish, as like
Yes.
mine is Polish. So how about playing in other, I don't know, languages or language? I don't know if you can play more than English, but for sure you play in English as well. How this is influencing your improvisation?
I mean, I talk less, of course, and I don't always understand especially if you play with people who have English as the first language. I don't always follow what's going on. Even if I hear what they say, it's like, what's the meaning of that? So that's a challenge, of course. I have done it so much now, so maybe I can relax a little bit more on that I don't have to understand everything, and I will be accepted anyhow by the audience. And often it happens in a country where English isn't the first language, so then the audience are very understandable, and so I would say that I'm very based on Swedish characters. So, and some that goes away a little bit.
Interesting. Per, you run this great theater, and as we said, there is a lot of classes and a lot of shows, I guess. I've been there, luckily, and I could experience, to me, a big difference of this theater comparing to what I know as improv theaters. So I know you talked with Randy also how improv looks in Europe and what's Swedish scene. So I would like to ask you, what do you think, what makes your theater in the Swedish background special or different, or just different from the others?
From the beginning, we were very inspired by Keith Johnston. At the same time, I have been going to the theater every day since '93 almost. So I mean, when we rehearsed a new show, we rehearsed for 6 weeks every day. So we have been working as a theater, and I mean, a couple of years, and then we realized that Keith Johnston is of course fantastic, but we need more. So we have always looked for inspiration in other places as well. And 2010, it was 100 years since August Strindberg died. And then we actually got money from the state to do a show. So there was a bit of a turning point, because we decided to do more dramatic. I mean, we have always had this dramatic thing going, like are the base of our theater, I would say. So I mean, and from there then on, we have developed the dramatic side of improv. I jump a little bit back and forth here, and I would say another thing that has driven us is that when we started doing long form without having seen it somewhere else, so we are not, so we kind of in the group we know that there are different ways of doing it. Often you look at the theater how they do it, and then you want to do it exactly how they do it, or you find your way. We have always looked for new ways all the time, and often created them ourselves. So I would say that is also very important in my theater's history, that we are. Then of course we also have seen international groups that we really loved, and we have tried that as well. So for example, working with Randy Dixon in 2004 was a big change for us also. But the dramatic side is different in our theater. We totally understand that the audience needs to laugh, and we have this, I think it's a little Swedish thing also, that if you make them laugh truly and full out, then it's more easy to make them cry in the next scene. So that's a thing we always try to do.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
they want that, but they don't know that they want that. They don't know that they need that, but we do.
You know what they need.
Yeah, we know what they need.
So was this way to that this process was easy to find? Because I think it is to develop something like that, it's pretty I would say complex, right? Because you need actors or people who are committed to this kind of work.
Yes.
So what was the challenge in that, to create this kind of background for your theater where you agree doing a bit grounded stuff?
Actually, the biggest challenge was to find those people who wanted to do this, because and want to do this journey of creating something different. It's not that different, but still in improv it's a little different, because so I think that was the biggest challenge in the beginning, to maybe say no to a couple of people. I mean, that was in there.
Your cast in the theater is like you and Janne were studying acting, and the rest of the cast is also they are actors, like Teresa and
yeah.
So they're all actors.
In some way or another, actors, yes, and they have this wanting to. I mean, when for example, now we do Stockholm Syndrome, that is based on a Swedish author, Lars Norén. He has written like 40, I don't know, 30, 40 plays about families. So, and they are all a little different. So, I mean, that's our world. And in the process, we also talked about our own families. So, I mean, maybe we talked 50% and rehearsed on stage 50%. So the talking for us is where we create this thing, I would say. When you talk about your own, when you connect your own life experience to something that can happen in a Lars Norén play, you become very aware of what level you are on. You know, I mean, that is Lars Norén thing is based on that we are in, I mean, you are brought up in the family you are brought up in. You can't really run away from it. It's like you are there, and you have connections, and you have loved all of them. Maybe, or you do that also now, but it's in your body so much. So the reactions you have must be from the body in some way.
Mm-hmm. So as you touched that subject, because I wanted to talk about this show anyway, because it's a significant show, I think, and quite rare. Let me ask you for how the show started, because I would like to explain that this show which you play is played first of all by people who are acting, improvising, but also there's something special because you use your own names. That's a thing which is in this show. The other thing is you have props, which also in improv it's not very common. So you have a stage set up with props. It's designed, so you have also clothes for that, and so on and so on. So it's like really theater show. So how did you come up to all these ideas, and if somebody directed it, or because it's like an old production, it's not just people coming randomly and playing that show. It really needs to be prepared, and also you have a great musicians to play with. So how did you start that?
Well, we have worked with a scenographer for a long time in all the shows we have done, and we talked about this. I mean, it starts very, the cenographer says, "I see gray," and then okay, gray. Oh yeah, that's nice. And then she said like, and then a red pillow on the sofa. Okay, so I mean, we had some things. We wanted to have a sofa or a bed or something where we could lie down. In Lars Norén's plays, family dramas, there is some scenes with sexual content in there, and so one thing was that we realized that we have to find a way to do this, still feel safe, that everybody will feel safe on stage. So I mean, one thing was the sofa, we need that, and she said gray. And then we said something like, I said something like, maybe we can have walls that can be moved. I mean, and then she put walls on wheels. And then she came up with, and because we said like we had this idea of that the wall in this family home belongs to the family or something. I think that was the discussion. And then she made the clothes that like my jacket is the same as one piece of the wall, like a gray flavor. So every character has a piece of the wall and in the same cloth. And then in the end, the walls didn't move. They are at the same place the whole time. I mean, we when we rehearsed, we even had an idea to do this Lars Norén family at McDonald's. So I mean, so it was very, we did many different things. But the more we worked, the more we came back to the closer we came to actually the author's world, so to say. So in a room, and there is a lot of talk about food in his plays, but not so often you see them eating. So it's more like you hear they talk about what they're going to eat, and then there is a time jump from before and after dinner, and we also wanted that, so that's why we don't have the kitchen, for example. Am I answering your question? I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, I directed the play, but I would say always when we work, someone will direct and be more in charge of everything, but it's very much a group thing.
Group project.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess you read a lot of his plays and discussed what should be in that.
Yeah, yeah, the good thing is that there are like 15 of them. Swedish TV have filmed different versions that made it quite easy for us to study him.
As an inspiration, you take relationships between the characters. And what is always happening there, as far as I know, you always play the same gender. So if you're man or woman, you play the same gender. And you keep your names. Why is that? Your original name. So you play Per, which is not you playing yourself, but you play character with the name Per, and everyone who plays the play has their own name. Why is that?
It came out of the thing that also, because we also use personal stories in the work. If you are, for example, are using, or you end up in a monologue and you are triggered by something in your own life, then you can use something from your own life, and then the character will take over the story and make it theirs. I mean, so if I'm talking about a trip I've done, or I remember when I went to Italy, and then I would talk about something I have done, and I can be more specific. Then the story will take me somewhere else, I guess. So, and also we just wanted to take away often names are the things that make you think too much in improv, and it takes away your sensibility of being there and being focused on your character. And so we just made it easy. We thought if we take away that and we just use our own names, why not? So there are like two different things why we do it like that. The use of that we use personal stories as inspiration, and also to take away the name thing.
So is this the stuff which you talked with Randy that inspired by him to use personal stuff? Is this the thing you're using now in the show? It's this what you took from Randy?
Yeah, Randy was at our theater and directed a show called City Life in 2004, and that show is based on only personal stories, and it's about your day in the city. So you use that, and in the show you reflect on, okay, what did I do today? Yeah, Monica interviewed me. I would use this situation, but I would use you. You would be my mother, or my sister, or former girlfriend, and I would maybe have a monologue. It's so good now on Zoom when you can discuss with dead people, I don't know. There would be truth there, but then made into theater. In some way.
So because it can be very personal, you can bring your personal stuff. Did you experience in one of these Stockholm Syndrome shows something which became, in a way, really funny because it was so personal that everyone knew that, or so personal that it got really deep and touching, emotional, or very different than from like shows where we play just games? Which were the significant moments of these shows, if they happened?
I have to talk about my father then, that passed away like 5-6 years ago. We often went to the forest together, cutting down trees, and we would walk around there. And he had spent his whole life in that forest, so he knew like every part of it. And I just remembered connecting a lot with my father walking around in that forest. I mean, that triggers yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't use that because it personally gives me satisfaction. It's for the play.
Mm-hmm. But tell me, coming back to this Norén thing, the place, you said that there can be some kind of sexual tension which can happen.
It can happen.
In the play. So where did you learn, or how did you learn to play that well? Because as we know, it can be awkward or can be difficult for actors. You probably need to get together close and have the connection and training and know what's possible and what's not in the play while you're improvising, because it's not written. So you have to be ready for something, but also there have to be kind of boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
How did you train that?
One thing was that we have under our clothes, we have also a gray, as we say, the uniform, we call it, with like how big, not sexual underpants, and everybody has a gray shirt as well, so that we are all looking the same under. So I wouldn't say that it happens often, but I can take my trousers off. That's it. It can happen. Mm-hmm. If the play needs it. And we trained a lot on how to be close and near to each other, and how to where is the limit of what the audience actually want to see, and so on. And we talk. This was also in the talking we did about the project. That I said was 50%. That we looked at his plays. Of course, it can be. Sometimes there is to that kind of scene that there is an abstract thing going on. Mm-hmm. Maybe the light change and it becomes an abstract world. So, and maybe it's not about love, it's about something else. Mm-hmm. So that's one version of this kind of scene, and the other version is actually two people trying to have sex. More normal. So there are like two different versions of it, and it's a lot about talking and people actually saying, I'm okay with you touching me there, and then I'm answering, yeah, I'm okay with you touching me there, and how would we end this so that we know that should the lights go down. Normally the lights go down quite early when these things happens, but here we try to keep it up as long as possible, and just continuing. So it's theatrical also. Mm-hmm. It becomes a technique as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's also in some way my company makes it easy because we have such good females. It's very equal in that sense that I would say that I have more often been seduced than being the seducer on stage. And as a man, it makes it so much easier in some way.
Mm-hmm. So as these plays are quite, I would say, touching serious subjects, let's say like that, and
Yes.
family-based background, what you can recall as one of the funniest moments in one of the plays? Is there something which you remember which was really funny for you playing and for audience watching it?
A bit dark, humorous thing. I remember one play, and it was actually based on a personal story from me, but someone else using it. So it was we all came back from our father's funeral. I had done some singing in the funeral, and so it was like in the show my other like mother and my sister, I think, was talking about it, that they didn't understand why I sang that song and I couldn't sing and blah blah blah. Yeah, I remember that as a very funny, you know, in the grief that we have in this situation. This could be, it's very Swedish, I would say, that you find the something funny to react to, and that was in the whole play, I think, and in the end I had to sing a little piece from that made up song, kind of. So
I think it would be nice to mention musicians. I don't know if only Mats is playing or you have also pianists there, because I've seen the show and I think music does really, really a lot, and the musicians are really great, which you have. So can you just briefly introduce them?
we have two musicians, Mats Karlsson and Ketil Medelius, and we have been working with them both for a very long time, and they are always also in the project, in the rehearsals. We have never really understood how you can rehearse and then the musician just comes in doing the show, because it's have to be specific from things that you came up with together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mats that plays in the Stockholm Syndrome is also very much a percussionist.
Mm-hmm.
He plays guitar, but also very rhythmical. He plays the underneath the play, I would say. He don't never plays on top of the play. He puts his music underscoring, pushing us up. He's also very free. I remember in the premiere that we had, the only thing we have decided was that the first time he plays in the start of the show, and then we start acting, and the next time he play, there is a short time jump to the next scene, so to say. That was like the only thing we decided in the premiere, and then it's very free when he plays.
I agree. His music is really flowing and bringing giving another aspect and flavor to the whole thing.
Yeah.
I will under the YouTube this chat, I will post the Stockholm Syndrome link, which you recently posted with Swedish, with played in Swedish but with English subs, so that people can
Yes.
see it, because I think it's really worth. And I've said this, but I will repeat. I've seen this play a few times, not only once or twice, live, and now online. And I think that it's really worth to check. So if you're watching us, there will be a link. So But I found out. You told me just before we started to chat on this that you also do not only Norén but Bergman thing. So it's now for me like really Swedish thing doing this whole place. So what's the Bergman project? What it gives you and what's special about that?
I mean, Bergman, we have been doing Bergman for 20 years in different versions, and now I have a very advanced group. I teach Improv Academy, and we are doing improvised Bergman based on his movies from the 50s. Mm-hmm. I mean, Bergman did like 60 movies or something, and they go through different periods. So in the 50s, there are still comedy in his movies, and it's later in the end of the 60s, they become more like drama between two people in a house a week in the summer or something, and more tragic maybe, and in that sense. But in the 50s, there are a lot of comedy in them, and they are very much alive and played out. Mm-hmm. So that's very funny. And the actors are from the Royal Dramatic Theatre or was from the Royal Dramatic Theatre at that time, so they used their way of speaking on the stage in the plays. Mm-hmm. A lot. So there is the voices are very theatrical, and when we do that now, it sounds very funny in a way.
So this is the basic difference between Bergman and Norén, or there is something else? Do you have still like props and
no, in this one we don't have props, and it's more I mean, Bergman did one of the first road movies. Mm-hmm. So in his movies from the 50s, can be many different environments the film is shot in. So it can be very movable in that sense. Mm-hmm. No, it's there is in his film there is a lot of character in a more dramatic way. I mean, theatrical dramatic way that looks for happiness. Mm-hmm. And the characters are very much they say the truth to each other, and they talk about themselves in a way. So his characters are quite ego. Mm-hmm. And that's fun to play with. So maybe our version there becomes a bit more comedy than Norén, that is very much, as we say here in Sweden, kitchen realism in one way.
I didn't hear this expression. We've talked a lot about these two shows, which are quite different than, as I said, we supposed to think about improv theater. Mm-hmm. So how many shows and what kind of shows you have during the week in your theater, and what kind of shows you have? How you settled, this more serious, more funny, more comedic? What's the program? How you create, and what's the audience? Is this audience made up from students and improvisers, or you have maybe a lot of people coming from town to see a theater? How is that?
When we don't have Corona, mm-hmm. We usually play Stockholm Syndrome like once a week. Mm-hmm. And then there would be something else like once or twice a week. So normally we play Thursday, Friday, Saturday every week, and maybe also Sunday. We have a lot of student shows. So from time to time, there are like 2 weeks with only student shows. And sometimes we have a late evening show, late night show, that is only like one half, for example. If we play Norén, maybe we try to have something else that is a little bit more entertaining in some ways, to catch another audience. We have since many years an audience that wants to see improvised Norén. I guess hard work and long work has made that happen. I mean, we also do improvised musicals. We sing a lot. We do the Schlager Festival every year. So some brands that drag in different people. I wouldn't say that it's easy always, and especially not now when all the audience comes from like Facebook, I mean, and Instagram. It's really hard sometimes to reach out with different things.
Yeah. So you mentioned singing, and I know you are a very good singer. You can improvise great and singing songs. I even saw you in one of the shows rapping in English, which was really funny. So is that a big part in your theater? It's like
singing has always been a big part. That was kind of the first long forms we did that went over 2 acts, was maybe improvised musicals. We did the Melody Festival, our version we have done now for 24 years, I think.
That's long.
And it has become, it's an event that lives its own life. It started the same night when it was on Swedish television, so it was like a challenge to don't see it on TV, come to our theater and see our version. And it has always been very big in Sweden, so we kind of thought no one will come to the theater, but it was full. So but now we have it, we can have it anytime in the year actually, and it kind of lives its own life. Yeah, so we sing a lot also.
When do you think it comes from? Because I know it's not only you doing it, but I think also Victoria in Göteborg, they also have this kind of contest of improvised songs. So is this very Swedish thing?
I think it's a very Swedish thing. I think there are 4 or 5 song contests in Sweden.
Like that, like improvised?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
In different theaters. And if you remember Niklas from Skellefteå up north, he was there one summer in the Dig Festival. They also have one up there, and there is one in Karlstad, in the middle of Sweden also.
So as I understood, you sing the songs in characters?
Yes.
So you choose the characters before, and how you create them? You inspired by clothes, or you have inspiration from people, or you pull and our audience tells you who you are? What's the inspiration for songs and characters?
We make them very personal, so every singer can kind of find the character, and sometimes, usually I have been the one together with the artist creating the character. So sometimes I say to someone, wouldn't it be fun if you would be something like this? sometimes now we also, so what world are we taking the music from? So now our version have become very specific. So like in the style of Supertramp. I mean that like a very we don't call the style Supertramp, but we kind of that style. We try to create something that sounds a little bit like that. Often now the characters are very. It's like a home wife that has a dream that want to be an artist, or the last one I was a farmer. So I mean they become very very basic characters instead of becoming an opera a real singer or like that. We go the other way kind of, and also to be able to sing about to connect with normal people in a way.
Great, because I haven't seen that much, or even if I can see it, because you do it in Swedish, right? It's not in English.
It's in Swedish.
It's in Swedish, so I wouldn't understand until you make maybe subs at the recording, which is a lot of work. Per, a part of having theater, you also were running for a few years, I don't know how long, a Dick Festival, which was in the summertime for 1 or 2 weeks. So to me, as I've been to pretty few festivals and retreats and places, your festival is also quite special and quite different from other festivals. Mainly because it's super focused on learning and teaching process and learning for students. So how long do you do that? And what was the idea behind that? Why did you start to do this?
This year should have been the 5th year, I think. 5th. Yes, yes. I have been going to festivals, I don't know, since 93. I was in Finland on a festival in Tampere. No, not Tampere, in Espoo I was. And so I have been going like every year since then, 1 or 2 or 3 times. The last years, the last 10 years, it has kind of exploded with festivals and gatherings, and it's a very creative world that's happening there. But when I looked around and when I thought, or when we thought in my theater, what do we want to do? And then we came up with this, that we try to do something different, try to do something that also connects with our theater, that for the last 20 years have been all about how can we make improvisation more reflecting more on humans, reflecting more on human lives, explore different area of what it's about to be human, to be fair to our own theater. That's where we ended up, I think, to also what we want to stand for, be. It doesn't mean that we I mean, we play funny stuff all the time, and we are fast and we are funny also, but the core of the thing we do is exploring something new for us.
So do you plan, do you have an idea for clarifying how the festival looks like? You have 1 or sometimes there were 2 weeks, but each week was had a different theme, different subject, and you bring teachers. There's usually 3 teachers teaching during the week, 3 different groups. and under this one subject. So how do you choose the subject? Is this like, okay, we need this for the theater and our people, and we try to focus on that, and then other people who come from all over the Europe, or sometimes even more far away, then they are interested what you proposed. So is it coming from your need, from your theater people need, saying that way?
It's normally a quite long process to come up with it. Some of it is what I'm interested in right now. Some of it can be like, oh, I really want that teacher. Mm-hmm. Some of it can be what I think improvisers need, and of course then I look beside me where I am. What does these people need? I mean, 25 of the students are basically from our theater also, and maybe 15 to 20 from abroad. Mm-hmm. And some of it is, can I sell this? So that's also in there.
Yeah, that's the problem of every festival.
Yes.
To survive, to make it pay off, that you can invite teachers, pay the tickets, and
sure.
Yeah.
So if I, for example, if I have I really want that teacher, then what can I combine that with? Sometimes the topic is there first, and I look for teachers to that topic. Skype with some people. I Skype with Randy, and he tells me something, and yeah. So I mean, it's an ongoing. For me, it's always a process of talking and testing your own ideas and see what people think about it, and be willing to change a little. And yeah, it can be very different.
Yeah. What I have to say, this festival is really building a nice community of improvisers, and it's always warm and nice, and everyone is there really welcomed, even if there is first time for them, or second or third, like there was people who were coming every year. So if anybody in the future will look for something new and special, I also would advise to check Swedish Stockholm DIG festival, which is usually at the beginning of September. Not September, August.
Yes.
August, the beginning of August. So, going from that, let's go to what's Orca project?
Orca. Mm-hmm. It started 2005, I think, on Orcas Island, north of Seattle, close to Vancouver. Mm-hmm. Where Randy has a cabin, and he knows people there who runs a theater. So Randy put this project together with improvisers from all over the world. Mm-hmm. And it's been a real privilege to be one of them. In the beginning, it was we met like once a year, a week or 2 weeks or something like that, and we worked, and in the end we did some shows. So it's a place to find inspiration and do new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Exchange.
Sorry?
Exchange.
Yes, and also to be one of the people who creates. I mean, Randy Dixon is a very inspirational teacher and inventor of farms, and he's really trying to deepen the work of improv in a way. So Yeah, that has been really fun. We don't meet so often now, but because we are old and tired and.
How many people is there? Because I know for sure that Trixie is there, and I think Antonio, I guess. I can't remember if Patty. So how many people are there in this project?
14 or 15, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Philippe is there, Rama is there, Henk from Amsterdam, Tom from Portland, Jill and Randy, Jury from Japan, New Zealand, John from Belgium, and more.
Great. Really international cooperation. Per, we are also almost wrapping up. I wanted to ask you, how do you see? I think it maybe almost happened in the Randy's interview, but we see a change of improvisation, going a bit more from the games and theater sports, which were the beginning of this huge explosion, and now there is more ways to do improv, to do different kinds of improv. How do you see where it will go from your perspective?
I think improv is a very good tool for holding up the mirror against the society you are living in right now. So in my world, I really would like to be able to find formats and work more on that. I mean, political or not. Yeah, that's one thing. And I think improv should go where the people who is running the group wants it to go. So I think every group should find their own way of doing it. That's kind of the whole idea with it. I think that you have to come up with your own way of doing it and using the culture and the world that you come from as an inspiration. In that way, I don't mean that every country has, like we do, our big authors, for example, has been a big thing for us. It doesn't have to be like that, but I think one should bring out the speciality that you have. Kind of doesn't have to be built in the way that Hollywood normally builds stories. So it doesn't have to be like that. It can be in a totally different way. Because stories are different, and stories don't have to have a clear ending in the Hollywood way. It can be in other ways. And we could also give the audience a chance to tell the story, because our lives are now based on so many different. We take in stories all the time. We read, we follow on Netflix or whatever. So we know this thing, storytelling. Everybody knows it, and sometimes it's just more interesting to leave a gap and let the audience finish it, or yeah, that's one way I'm very interested in.
Do you think that what's happening now with our world being now locked up and having this connection on Zoom, do you think this Zoom thing somehow will be translated to the stage or will influence our future as improvisers?
I guess in some way. I guess the possibility now that you can actually have an international workshop without going anywhere, and people connecting will create more international groups, maybe, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe you can't work as deep as you could in if you are in the same room, or but it can still be creative and inspirational. Yeah, I mean, we are gonna stream in like 3-4 weeks again. We're gonna do Stockholm Syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Again with English subs.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping. We'll see. It takes time.
I know.
So that's totally new for us. So we'll see if we will go even further with how we use the cameras and things like that, and try to make it, because impro, just filmed impro has never been fun.
Mm-hmm.
Really, when you film your shows or whatever, and to
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are really good shows there out there, but
I think that the good show will always be good, you know.
yeah, maybe.
I've seen many good shows online recorded. Sometimes the quality, of course, when the quality is poor, it's not that good, or sound is not good. But I've seen a lot, and I enjoy watching them because one can learn from that a lot.
Of course.
And it's good to see, especially internationally. I have to say that I haven't seen you on any festival like the Syndrome Stockholm. I know you played, but you don't play so much, I think. Or did you play?
No, because we think it's hard for us to do the show, to do a version, because we don't have the scenario, because it's so specific. So we haven't really worked on that.
On the version, on the travelers version.
I mean, it's difficult. I'm hoping that we can do that, but I don't know.
I think you need an inspiration that somebody invites you, and then you will do it. So what I'm saying is, if somebody is watching who is an organizer of the festival, especially dramatic ones, but not only, because you suit to any kind of improv festival, it would be really great to invite you, because the shows are really special. So
Thank you.
I really think it's worth, and this will maybe motivate you just to pack the suitcase with this clothes and just get the a bit of props in the other city, and that's it.
Yeah.
Two last questions. The almost the last one is, when last time did you do something for the first time?
When the last time did I do something for the first time? Huh. Yeah, I must say then streaming a show. My theater has been really, really bad in filming and filming our shows, just to have them, just to be able to show them to someone that, oh, we did this and we did this and this, and right now I'm thinking every day on how can we film the show even better to make it more interesting and so on. So I mean, this filming improv is very much new.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we came to the very last question. Why do you love improvisation?
Why do I love improvisation? It gives me pleasure. It makes me laugh, and it for me it's the most joyful thing I can do, I think, because it's really fun, and to be able to connect with other people, and before it happens, both realize what's going to happen. It is very joyful. It has always also educated me in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fun.
Thank you, Per. This is
Thank
it.
you.
That was really great talk. And as I know you a little bit since this few years, I've been coming to Dig festivals for a few times. Now I know much more about you and the theater and your history. So thank you so much for your time. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.